This is what a $200,000 mistake looks like. Let me give you a little backstory on this next project of ours that is called the Brand New Fixer Upper. We were contacted by a client saying that their house had basically been abandoned by their previous builder. We have went and got a new permit, and we are going to fix any of the framing, any of the issues that were done previously before we continue on and finish this project.
So our client had spent $200,000 to get their home to the framed stage. And unfortunately, when we came onto the job, the framing that had been done was not just mediocre or subpar. It just plain would not pass any inspection.
So we've had plenty of meetings with the inspector, not just our county inspector, but the inspector over the bigger city. We've gone through the house, picked it apart, and have come up with a plan to fix what is here and to be able to complete this project in a timely and affordable fashion compared to where they're at today.
Yeah. Budget is everything for this project because the client did already spend $200,000
and should have had a already done home.
But unfortunately, that's not the case. So we're here to try and help pick up the pieces. And so let's go through and show you a few of the things that were not great.
When I walked into this house and saw the framing that had been done, it was mediocre at best. First of all, you don't build with 2x4s, you build with a 2x6. Now, typically, 2x4 walls is just fine here in Eastern Tennessee, but there is some stipulations when you're using 2x4 walls. You cannot go past a certain height with 2x4s. So, on this home, and as you look up, you can see that these walls are 14 feet high. That is insufficient for an exterior frame of the home that is holding up your roof. Second of all, you don't break it. It creates a hinge. You need your studs running from the bottom all the way up to the very top. This should have been, at minimum, a 2x6 wall. So what we'll do is we'll come inside here and we will frame out these exterior walls with 2x6s on the inside of the wall, and we will tie them together, creating essentially a 2x10 wall. So one of the first things that we noticed walking up to this project was the sheathing. This stuff here, they call it blackboard. It was really bad. Put on already had been wet. What they used was this asphalt cellulose product. A lot of people just call it blackboard. They use this for the sheathing, not on everything, but on a majority of the surface of the outside of the home. Now, generally, that's not a problem, especially if you use OSB in the correct portions, like at the corners. But this stuff has parameters when you use it. One of the parameters is that it does not stay out in the weather. You do not want water collecting in this stuff because it swells and it starts waving. It just busts apart. So what we decided to do was take out all the blackboard and replace it all with 7/16 OSB. Another one of the main concerns that we noticed with this house is that it was not actually attached to the foundation of the home. All they had were these. I know you can't see it real well, but you see every one of these indentations. That's called a steel cut nail. And so all they did was tack their bottom plates of their framing down to the concrete with some probably 3-inch steel cut nails. I don't know because I haven't taken any of them out. But that does not pass code in any way, shape, or form. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to drill holes, and we are going to anchor this thing 32 inches on center with these Simpson strong tie bolts. They're 1/2 inch. They are 8.5 inches long. They bury into that concrete at least 7 inches, and that is required by code. Now, since we've already replaced the OSB, we've had these windows taken out. Now, had we not had to replace the OSB, I still would have taken these windows out because the way that they were installed was completely wrong. From what I can tell from the outside, never got put in correctly. There is no sealant. They had gaps in here over 1 inch, and nails were missed. They were not even nailed into any of the jack studs, not the OSB, nothing. On top of that, they were not flashed one bit, so water was running right into the house, right into the framing, and would have destroyed this framing had it continued. So as we replaced all the OSB and the house wrap, now we can properly install it with flashing, making sure that we nail it off with all the studs and that we silicone or caulk around the flange of the window. Let's head on upstairs, and I've got a couple more things that I know that we needed to fix. All right, so here we are at the loft window. It's the only window up here, and we are gonna call it the Great Debate Window. And I will show you in the code book why we're gonna call it the Great Debate Window. But let's just talk about this window for a minute. We need to change this out because the first thing that needs to be met is egress, meaning you need a way to escape in case of a fire or any other emergency that would not allow you to go down the stairs. So you have to have something to get you out. And this window that was already here did not meet that code. So we are going to cut this sill down here, and we're going to add a bigger window in. That window was already purchased, already sitting in the garage, not being used or utilized. And why not use it here? We'll take this smaller window and we'll put it in the kitchen, and all windows will be used. Money will not be wasted here. Okay, why are we calling that window the Great Debate Window? Well, calling it a Great Debate Window because we've gone back and forth with the inspector a couple times on whether or not that window, if we make it a bigger window to meet egress, would require tempered glass. And not only have we been going back and forth with the inspector on the issue of this window, we have also been discussing it amongst ourselves on what is the best option to achieve the egress for this loft. There is no other place to add a window. There's not enough room on that wall to meet both the tempered and egress portion with what's available already. According to the code book, the way that I read it, it would not need tempered glass. Right here, glazing in an individual fixed or operable panel that meets all of the following conditions shall be considered a hazardous location. Now up here, a hazardous location requires tempered glass. But when it says all of the following, meaning not 1, not 2, not 3, but all 4 are required to meet the requirements of tempered glass. So, number 1, the exposed area of an individual pane is larger than 9 square feet. We don't meet that requirement for tempered glass, meaning the rest of the requirements for tempered glass would be void because we don't meet that one. So let's look at the rest. The bottom edge of the glazing is less than 18 inches above the floor. There you go. That is one reason we would need tempered glass. The top edge of the glazing is more than 36 inches above the floor. Again, another reason we would need tempered glass. One or more walking surfaces are within 36 inches measured horizontally and in a straight line of the glazing. Another third and final reason why we would need tempered glass. However, it does not meet all four. So according to the reading, when it says meets all of the following, in my English book,
All means all.
all means all. Now we could go and have a panel made that is tempered, and we will do so if he really just is adamant about having that done. But as for right now, according to the code book, it is not required. But always listen to your inspector. He does have your best interest in mind. Now, if you're a contractor, you should know that you can submit any drawings you need to your lumber supplier, and they will send off your schematics to the LVL manufacturer, which is in this case, Boise Cascade. And they will bring back to you the size requirements for the spans that you want for your LVL. This house obviously was not done that way because that ridge beam is insufficient according to Boise Cascade. Now for us, one of the biggest things that we can do is submit this back to Boise Cascade with a couple different fixes that we would like to do and see if it'll pass their engineering specs. Now we have a couple options on fixing this ridge beam up here. One, we can add a post, breaking this span into two sections. The other option is to have a girder truss or a pair of girder trusses made from a truss manufacturer that we can slack alongside both sides of that beam, tying it together and adding new end supports for that girder truss to take on that entire span and not have any posts in this garage at all. Okay, as you can see here on the ground, this has already been fixed, but let's talk about it for a second. This plumbing was put in prior to our foundation and slab being poured, which is pretty obvious. That's what has to happen. However, whoever was doing the plumbing missed in 3 different places where their location of sewage pipes should be. One was here in this toilet area. Another area that the plumbing was missed was here in the kitchen area. Now we've already fixed some of these studs like I had talked about before. We were supposed to hit way over here underneath this window. By we, I mean whoever did the work, not we, me. In addition to the plumbing not being correct here, the 2x4 wall that was already existing would not have been sufficient to get this pipe to where it needed to be. We would have had to cut out more than half of that wall or the studs to get that plumbing over to where it needed to be, leaving essentially nothing left to hold this house up. Okay, we need to also talk about these knee walls. When you build a knee wall, if you want it to count towards anything structurally, you need to have a top plate on this wall. It allows all the transfer of the rafters to span across a nice section of the studs, as opposed to all the transfer relying on one stud at a time. But if you can put a top plate on here and allow all of them to take that weight, likelihood of failing is very low. Now that we've taken you on a tour of this brand new fixer-upper, we hope you follow along in this series as we fix this house and complete it for our client.
We're really excited about this project. It is a little bit bittersweet because of everything that was lost, but we know that we're going to come out with something very beautiful and in budget for this client at the end of it. So stick around, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one.